Hello, today I'll be showing you how to use the famous Farm Boss software. This is for farm and ranch management, and the first thing you're going to see is the login screen here. You need two things. You need a username and a password. So I'll use the default password, which is admin, and my default password is 1234. Click login. The first thing you'll see here is called the dashboard, and on the dashboard here you'll see quite a few tabs here. You have the breeding tab, which shows you all your animals that are currently in breeding. For example, they're bred on this date and the due date here, and then you have a counter here that counts the days that is going to be due. And you can go to the animal tab. You'll see your animals here, and it has a bunch of tabs inside also. These sub tabs are, for example, you'll track your breeding, your medical history of the animal, feed and weight, training, documentations, and you can add scan documentations such as like animal registration docs, paperwork, maybe sales docs, purchase docs. You can also have videos also. You can attach those to this particular animal here. On the right hand side here you have search options and filter options, and you can run reports also. On the far right here, these are main controls. Main controls includes log off, refresh the system, language, changing the language of the application. You can do a remote access to the applications. So for example, if you're out in the field or the ranch or out and about, you can use your phone, your cell phone, if you're running a software. For example, if you're using an Android or a iPhone, you can use that to remote access back to the software, and you can update this information as you're out there, or you can add alerts. You can process a sales. You can activate the register to process the sales. You can run reports. You can go into the knowledge base, or you can go to the admin section and make changes to the application. Okay, so here I'll show you a few things here. For example, we have a few animals here. So I'll go back to this one here. So for example, this animal here, you can add a photo to it. You can add an animal name, the type. You can add a birth date. You can label it as this is an active pin location. You can have this as a breeder or stock, type of breed, Shamu, Thai, etc., Angus, Longhorn. If you're using my example here is about poultry and chickens, so this is on my list here. You can change any of these lists here and add more to it. So if you're running cattle, you can go with the Angus, Longhorn, etc. If you're running goats, you can go with the Boer, Nigerian, Zebu, and etc. More cattle down here, such as Jersey or Texas or Shorthorn, and etc. You can also go with horses. You have Arabian, Appaloosa, American, Quarter, and etc. You can go from this list here. It's a big list here. You can make changes and additions to these lists here if you like, by the way. To do that, go into the admin section, and you can add more to this. It doesn't need to be in the list. You can just manually type it in if you like. You could track the parents also, father and mother. If they have tags, you can add tag numbers, and these tag and registration numbers here will help you filter and search for over here. So for example, you're searching for a particular animal with a particular tag, and instead of browsing through all of the animals here, what you can do is you can just click on these buttons over here, search for tag number or search for registration number, and then it'll open that particular animal here, and then you can go in and make changes to the documentation here. Okay, so I will go back to the breeding. One of the main thing, and probably the most important thing, is the breeding. So that's on the first tab here. So on each animals here, for example, if I go to my first animal here and I set some breeding, info down here. For example, I bred this rooster with a toppy girl here, gray eagle, and lady red here, and I put the bred date, and I put the due date, and it will count the days for me when it's going to be due. For example, like the one in red here means that it has passed it. And then you can put some breeding results, how many offspring, if there's any breeding losses, and if it's completed, you can put a check mark here. And the main thing about this software is built to help you manage your livestocks, pretty much all your animals, and also your chores. You can set up alerts, say you need to fix that fence post, or you need to patch up a barn. You can add an alert to it, and you can go to the alert section and see those. If for example, like this particular animal here, if it's been sold, you can change it to sold, or it could be lost, but the default is going to be active. So you can see how many animals you have. You could change the location. For example, this animal is located in pin number 1, so you can add all your locations on your ranch or farm here. So if, for example, this animal is in recovery room 1, then I'll put that there. So if you search for this animal, you know exactly where it's at. The breeding is the most important, so this will only show you all the pending and that are still here. So for example, once it's completed, you can hit the complete button here, and you can go to refresh, and you see how that line disappears. But although it will always be listed under the animal that you have assigned that to. So that's very important, because it shows you the production rate of a particular animal. So you could kind of see what is your top end and what is your bottom end, and make some beneficial or some smart choices there, and maybe get rid of all the bottom end and keep the top ends. You can track their medical record, feed and weight, and etc. down here also, and you could pan through it by going through here. So here I only have 3 test animals here. Okay, so this is the basic features of the Famous Farm Boss. It is free, so you don't need to register anything. Download it from our website. You use it for free. There's a lot of other softwares out there that are very expensive, but our software is always free for personal use. If you do use it for commercial, then we will ask you to register the software, purchase and register the software. But other than that, this is the basic intro on the application. So if you log off here, you can go back into the main site here, and you'll notice that some of the buttons are really large. That's because when you're out in the field and you use your phone to remote back into the software, on the phone your screen is a little bit small, so the large buttons is to compensate for that, so that you can see it clearly, and you can click in and input in your username and password and log in, or you can also make inputs here, and such as that here right on your phones, so that you don't have to take notes and bring it back to the system here. You could just use your phone while you're out in the field and update this in real time and pull up information in real time, instead of having to come back to the system and then updating stuff on the system that way. Other than that, if you have any questions, let us know. This is the Famous Farm Boss software.